All right, so we talked about the chromosomes. I want to real quick go over the stages of cell division. So when we're talking about cell division or cell reproduction, that's very often referred to as the cell cycle, okay? And there are going to be two main steps in the cell cycle. The first one is going to be interphase, okay? Interphase is very often, you'll see textbooks refer to that as a resting stage or a quiescent stage. And essentially what it means is the cell isn't actively undergoing DNA replication, although that can change, and parts of interphase actually do go along with cell replication. Okay, because interphase is divided into a couple steps. We've got G1, we've got S, and we've got G2. Okay, G1 is the first gap phase. This is really where we're talking about the cell's kind of resting. It's not actively undergoing cell division. Okay, when we transition from G1 to S, that's where we're going to start the cell cycle, okay? With S phase, what we've got, this is going to be the synthesis stage, all right? This is going to be where DNA replication happens, okay? So here where we go from our single chromatid to our sister chromatids, that's going to happen during S phase, okay? G2 is going to be the second gap phase, okay? And then from G2, we're going to transition into mitosis. So mitosis is a specific part of the cell cycle, okay? Although we do tend to, as biology instructors, refer to the overall process of mitosis, okay? But know that mitosis is the actual separating of the cells. And there are going to be a number of stages in mitosis that I'm going to talk about next, okay? But what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of draw a circle here, okay? And I'm going to use some different colors, okay? So what I've got in blue here, this is going to be interphase. So interphase makes up the bulk of the cell cycle. The little bit that I put in green, this is going to be mitosis, all right? So what we're going to have with interphase, okay, we're going to have G1, that first gap phase. That's where things are kind of resting. You may also see some books describe this as a G0 or a G0 phase, which would truly be resting, okay? But really, we can't see any physical changes in the cell during G1, okay? We can track the stage of going between G1 and our next stage, which is going to be S phase, which is the synthesis or DNA replication. We can use special dyes and markers to be able to see that the DNA is replicating, okay? So this is going to be where DNA replicates. Our next step is going to be G2, okay? And the thing in between each of these stages is there are going to be some checkpoints, okay? Because the cell doesn't want to invest the energy in undergoing DNA replication if everything the cell needs isn't there yet, okay? So the G1 to S checkpoint, all right, what the cell's looking for is to make sure that the resources are there for the cell to replicate DNA, okay? If that happens, the cell can pass that first checkpoint, go into synthesis phase, all right? We want to have another checkpoint between S and G2 because we want to make sure that all of the chromosomes got replicated, okay? Because in the human genome, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes, so we've got 46 total chromatids. You want to make sure that all 46 have copies made so that none of the information gets left behind, okay? G2 is kind of another waiting phase. What's going to happen there, and what also goes along with cell division, is not only do you have to have a copy of the DNA, you also have to have all the cellular resources that are needed, like enough copies or enough cellular organelles like mitochondria, that you've got enough ribosomes made, that there's Golgi apparatus and endoplasmic reticulum that gets divided into each cell. So there's some technical stuff that goes on there because you want to make sure everything is ready to go before you enter mitosis, okay? So if you notice here, I kind of drew interphase being really, really long, all right? The average cell, and there's a lot of variation in this, okay? So keep that in mind. Interphase is going to be about 23 hours, okay? Mitosis, that whole process, can take an hour, okay? So it's relatively quick once everything is there and accounted for, all right? And just to kind of go over this real quick, those checkpoints, okay? Typically what happens with cancer cells is those cancer cells ignore the checkpoints. So they just kind of speed on past. And what that does is that increases the likelihood of mutations gathering and passing those mutations on to the next cells, okay? So that just kind of gives you a quick overview of overall stages with interphase and mitosis. I'm going to talk in the next video specifically about the stages of mitosis and what's happening in that part of the cell cycle, okay? If you have any questions, please let me know.